It's last motherfucker breathing.
The public opinion have called him a hero. Media houses have asked, where is evidence? But one thing for certain is that Lieutenant General MKHWANAZI has changed it all. Ever since we had the press brief followed by the Madlanga Commission, we have seen results ever since we've had the criminal justice system. People are being arrested left, right, and center, including the current arrest of Joe Sibanyoni, of which that is what we are going to talk about today. In this episode, it is an episode that will show you how powerful money can be and what people are willing to do just for purposes of money.
In the wee hours of the morning, we were alerted to this exclusive lead at just about 5 a.m. in the morning, and we had to confirm with just about 3 sources to verify the authenticity of this particular story as well, because at the time it wasn't really in detail as to what was happening. So upon that, we found out that, of course, it is a prominent taxi boss, Joe Sibanyoni, who has been arrested, and it seems as though he was nabbed at his home in Centurion in the wee hours of the morning before being taken to the Middelburg police station.
So Joe Sibanyoni was arrested today in connections to an extortion case, and there's also a possibility of a case of unaliving. But we'll talk about the current charge, which is the charge of extortion, and then later on we'll then address the possible charge that he might be faced with, which is the charge of unaliving.
As having spoken with our sources, that this relates to a case opened in November in 2025 by a businessman who is widely known and very active within the mining industry. He opened a case of extortion, and from where we are currently, we understand that more charges could be added as investigations are going. So it was a joint operation, right? You had members of SAPS from Mpumalanga who have been investigating this case. Organized crime here as well, part of it, and of course executing this, ensuring that there is no pushback on the scene, was the special task force unit that was on site as well.
So Joe Sibanyoni is a businessman and known taxi owner that resides in Pretoria and is known everywhere. I think after the Madlanga Commission, as well as knowing Vusumuzi Matlala, we know the role of Joe Sibanyoni and the impact he's had in society, especially in the taxi industry. And they were in the taxi industry together with Mr. Mswazi Msibi, a known figure who has said also allegedly to be part of the cartel, but he's no more, and has been a father figure to funding NKOSI as well as people like Vusumuzi Matlala, and has had close relationship even with Shadrach Sibia. It's just a lot of things going on even with the Big Five cartel, including him. Obviously, there's a lot of rivalries that are happening in the taxi industry, and I don't think it's something that's starting now with what is being revealed by the Madlanga Commission. It is something that has started way back. Hence the formation of the hit squad or the death squad, which is known as the Katomena unit, which was also trying to deal with the violence in the taxi industry.
Mr. Honorable Member Cameron, there's a dangerous world. A dangerous world.
Which one?
The taxi industry. It's a dangerous world. Too many people we have lost there. People die there. As I was saying, you sit here, I talk with you like this, and the next day, you are gone.
I remember Begicele how he would even say the violence in the taxi industry, that the taxi industry is extremely violent. And these two individuals, Mswazi Msibi and Joe Sibanyoni, were in that industry. Then they themselves, they even had a fallout, and the treaty was concluded because there was just a lot of fighting happening. And Mswazi was suspecting that the unalivings that were happening in the taxi industry was because of Joe Sibanyoni. If you guys remember NKOSI's testimony on that part.
Sibanyoni to set up a meeting.
Yes, I did.
Was a meeting then held?
That's correct.
Were you present at the meeting?
That's correct.
Who else was present at the meeting?
General MKHWANAZI.
And what was discussed at the meeting?
Okay, it was just a background on how did this fight come about, and is it true that indeed these allegations were made by him, and then what is it the fight now, because of he's no longer there, what is it, the fight all about?
You said, is it true that these allegations were made by him? What were the allegations and who made them?
No. It was these allegations of taxi violence after Mr. Msibi died. So Mr. Sibanyoni was being asked that if he's involved in these things or not.
So I see. So essentially, those cases that were on the list from Mr. Mtakati and Swazi were presented to Mr. Sibanyoni, and he was asked, "Are you involved in any of this taxi violence?"
Yes.
In these cases.
That's correct.
However, it is very important for us to clarify that there hasn't been any cases of unraveling at the Madlanga Commission yet that are linked to Joe Sibanyoni. Instead, it's the other way around, where he's the victim of Vusumuzi Cat Matlala. But we'll discuss that part of Vusumuzi Cat Matlala later on. Let us first start with the charge that he's currently facing, which has put him in jail, which is the charge of extortion. So they're saying that he's been extorting this known businessman, and this businessman decided to blow the whistle. Because of the sensitivity of the matter, since this is a Schedule 5 offense, they cannot disclose the actual person that has been the victim of Joe Sibanyoni. So then we are just told, bits and pieces of what is actually going on in this particular matter. So the first question you ask yourself, is it a shocker that Joe Sibanyoni can be charged with extortion? I can say that it's not, because there's been a lot of allegations that have followed with Joe Sibanyoni. And I will start from the point of what we've heard from the Madlanga Commission. Joe Sibanyoni is a lover of tenders. And if you guys have been following my episode, have been watching my episode, you'll know that Joe Sibanyoni has been heavily implicated in the testimony of NKOSI, especially in relation to the tenders there in the city of Tshwane. And more than anything, he was also accused or has been allegedly said that he is a fronter in Gubis 85, which has got the lion's share in the Tshwane municipality. And he is, the person that is fronting for him is Kelvin Mahlangu, who's the current CEO of Gubis. But we're hearing that actually he's fronting for Joe Sibanyoni.
Now, it's interesting that he's been asked about Joe Ferrari Sibanyoni, and the importance of that is because as Tshwane CFO, as you recall, there are 3 companies that are deemed to have been, given a who were favored rather and preferred companies to be awarded those contracts. But in particular, Gubis 85, which on its website says it's owned by Kelvin Mahlangu. There are allegations, however, that the owners of this company are fronting for the taxi boss, Joe Ferrari Sibanyoni.
And we also know that there is Umandla Mgcini, who is a nephew of Joe Sibanyoni, who also was receiving tenders from the municipality. And there was even an article from Times Live that this man has been siphoning money from the Tshwane municipality through this lady who has, in a way, gotten that particular tender of water tankers. And also, we know from what we've heard at the Madlanga Commission, that there's actually relationships between NKOSI and Joe Sibanyoni, of which I'm not going to lie, it's a shocker and it's sort of like confusion, because Joe Sibanyoni is enemies or was enemies with Umswazi, and NKOSI was on the side of Umswazi, who's on the side of Matlala, who later on had attempted to unalive Joe Sibanyoni. But NKOSI was seen as this man that was just everywhere, taking information, and I don't know, it's like he was just playing a safe side to say, I want to feed everybody and be everywhere, it doesn't matter. Because the Madlanga Commission also revealed that this man even sent a link, which he sent to Gareth Mnisi, going to visit Joe Sibanyoni. We don't know the particulars that was discussed in that particular meeting.
So you now say you recall that he had a conversation about Joe Sibanyoni with you at an earlier stage. Was it one, several?
We see now there are 3 instances. We saw the TikTok video. We saw him sending me a pen that he's going there on the 29th and the 30th of April. You're now pointing me out to this additional one that takes place here. So there's 3 that I'm seeing now.
I see. Let's go a little lower down. He tells you it is Joe Sibanyoni. He says JS. And he says, we'll handle him with, I think it's will let you know is what he meant to say. Your response is, Aish, should we be worried? Why would you be worried about him going to see Joe Sibanyoni?
Again, firstly, the we is not me. And this is what I was trying to refer to the commission, that this was our way of speaking. This is another example of that we, of that ours, etc.
But one thing for sure that was clear is that Joe Sibanyoni was very happy when the raids were happening in Vusumuzi Ket Matlala's house, because NKOSI told Joe Sibanyoni about those raids.
Because what it looks like is that you were preemptively celebrating with Mr. Sibanyoni that the special task force were about to raid Mr. Matlala. That's what it looks like. Do you want to respond to that?
I can't respond to that. You know why? Honestly, I did not know.
So it's just that complex circled relationship between these people. But as I've said, there's no criminal allegations that were raised in the Madlanga Commission that are connected to him. It's mostly his role in the tenders and the allegations that are attached to him and his family that they have received tenders. That is why I'm saying that it makes sense why there's charges of extortion. Because clearly, if all these allegations are true, Mr. Sibanyoni loves money. Then I want to quickly move to the issue of Vusumuzi Ket Matlala. So Vusumuzi Ket Matlala is one of the people that are said to be part of the Big Five cartel, and also tried to unalive Joe Sibanyoni. So in that case, what happened is that it looks like Mr. Matlala hired Ukekana as well as Udiego. The same thing that happened to Thobejane. I'm going to tell you the new developments of this case of Thobejane because it will shock you and blow your mind. But we'll discuss that at the end so that we don't disturb the smooth process of this video. So there was an attempted unaliving, and the way it was described is that it looked like there was a cover-up so that it doesn't show that Joe Sibanyoni was actually the victim of Vusumuzi Ket Matlala, up until this car was found after it was painted and they tried to hide the evidence. And when the police found the car, they saw that the painting, when you remove it, there was those shots that were fired. And this man explained it very well at the ENCA interview that he had.
And then the most, again, brilliant detective work. This car is found after it had been missing for longer than a year. And now it had changed hands 2 times. It was immediately after the hit. And I think for me, this is so instrumental, is that one of the things that the police then learn from the person who bought the car initially, a couple of days after this crime has taken place, tells them that the person who had brought the car to him, which is Mabusela, informed him that he was supposed to destroy the vehicle. But he couldn't stand to destroy that vehicle. He needed to make a bit of money.
More money.
Yes. You know, so they then sell the car. This gentleman tries to have it fixed, then sells it on to a dealership. The dealership then sells it on to another unsuspecting, individual in South Africa, who then eventually has to now give this car over to the police. Police went to his house on a random Monday evening and then told him that this car has been linked to criminality and it's part of an investigation. And, the detection work doesn't end there. When they actually strip the color is different. The car has been...
It was initially white.
It was initially white. Now the car has been wrapped in a fancy green color. It's got a new set of rims. But as soon as they sort of peel off that wrap, they begin to see what looks like bullet indentations in the vehicle from where it had been shot at by the guard at the estate. Then when they take the car apart, they are then able to actually retrieve shell casings of the weapons that were actually fired at Joe Sibanyoni.
So is that bad blood? We just don't understand what is going on with that particular relationship of Vusumuzi Ket Matlala and Mr. Joe Sibanyoni. And now there's this new different angle that comes in, which is the one of the unaliving. So there is a man. This man was a journalist, and his name is Sibusiso Ndlovu. So Sibusiso Ndlovu went missing. I think it's a case that happened a few years ago, but it was kind of like resolved. I think it was last year. I'm not sure, guys, about. And they were later found already unalived. There's a lot of weird things about this particular case of Ndlovu, but there were 5 people that were arrested, and these people, one of them was an Uber driver that was transporting Mr. Ndlovu, and he was later on, he was the one that was feeding information to the police about the whereabouts of this guy. But later on, it was revealed that he's actually part of the people that were planning this unaliving of this journalist together with her partner.
Ndlovu and his partner, Zodwa Mdluli, were last seen. Their families have been left shocked and devastated. Ndlovu reportedly left Denlin Mall in Mamelodi on the 18th last month, and his partner was also reported missing that same evening. Family members have pleaded for their safe return.
And this case was very important because it highlighted the issue of safety for journalists. And a lot of journalists, including Clement Manyatela, expressed the concerns around the safety of journalists.
He has been devastated by this. Please spare a thought for them. But this has also ignited fears about the safety of journalists in the country. I mean, the media fraternity is worried. I think back in March, there was a group of journalists that said, here's 50,000 Rand as a reward for any leads on the couple's whereabouts. I think that amount has since increased to about 100,000 Rand, if I'm not mistaken. The police have told us this morning that there is some progress in this case. The police spokesperson said they're not able to speak to us this morning, but they said they'll release a statement. So as soon as they release that statement, I'll read it for you. There have been all sorts of reports about what could have happened to them. And again, spare a thought for the family that is sometimes even considering the worst and is maybe struggling to stay positive, because it's really difficult when you haven't heard or seen or even have the slightest idea of where your loved one could be.
But that's the thing, guys. One of the very important things that were revealed in this case was the role of a prominent taxi business owner. And that in and of itself would make you ask yourself a lot of questions, can make you have a lot of suspects. I don't know if it was Sazim CB or it was Joe Sibanyoni. But there is a tweet that was written by Newsroom Africa regarding this particular case and how it's connected to the charges that are faced by Joe Sibanyoni and the others, because he was arrested with other people. I think it was 2 or 3 other people that he's currently arrested with. And they're saying that he's connected to this unaliving. But the weird thing surrounding the circumstances of the unaliving of Sibusiso is that we are seeing a lot of familiar faces that have been really implicated at the Madlanga Commission. And that is the case of Kelvin Rafadi, who has been a friend of Vusumuzi Matlala and found himself in all these kidnapping cases, including the case of Mr. Jerry Bushok. Also, another person that was at the forefront of this case was the on-leave Deputy Police Commissioner, which is Shadrack Sibi. These people are the ones that were giving the media a lot of updates, were at the forefront of this. One can argue and say Shadrack Sibi was because he's the Deputy National Police Commissioner, he should be concerned. But with the information that you know, do you think it is that simple? I don't know. You tell me what you think. These people are involved in this case, and it was a case of kidnapping. There's just a lot of charges that were associated with this case, which ended up with the unaliving of this particular journalist. It was revealed at the Madlanga Commission by NKOSI that he was sending certain information and dockets to people that are in this taxi industry, including Joe Sibanyoni, and these cases were concerning kidnapping. So that, to me, it signaled that thing of, oh, you're sending dockets to these people of kidnapping. And that in and of itself, it is a red flag in my books. It raises a lot of questions regarding the role of these people, why they were so concerned about the kidnapping cases and all that. I don't know what you guys think. Do you think that he might be charged with that? This is a developing story. We're still going to find more information. He's going to appear tomorrow in court. And we know that when these people appear in court, that is where more things and new things get to be revealed. But we'll see as the time goes by. But it does look like more charges might be added, because we know the strategy of Lieutenant General MKHWANAZI. He said that they first arrest you for something small that you think it's small, even though extortion is not small. But they just get you to go in jail. Then from then they build their case and arrest you for more other things or further things that are connected to you. I don't know what you guys think about this particular case. Do you think that actually Joe Sibanyoni is going to be charged with the unaliving of this guy, or is just going to stick to extortion? And do you think that indeed he might have been the person who's done this? But one thing is clear for sure, guys, that I want you to always keep at the back of your mind is that taxi owners don't want Lieutenant General MKHWANAZI in as much as he doesn't want them. There is no peace between taxi owners as well as Lieutenant General MKHWANAZI. He's like a pain to them. He's like an injection to them because they just don't want his side. From Umswazim CB, who wanted him to go to the farm, and when Lieutenant General MKHWANAZI didn't want that, was just feeling like these people are afraid of Lieutenant General MKHWANAZI, to Getsemane. I don't know if you guys know Getsemane.
Until they realize that someone who's not afraid of Matibeti, then they feel free. I had said that the man is closer to Getsemane, one of the taxi bosses in KZN. Getsemane had issues with me. He still has, I believe. He has taken the police to court. He have gone to social media, podcast, and said all sorts of things about me. But I've never had anyone coming to me and say, here's something we have against Getsemane that must lead into a case. So there's no investigation that we have ever lodged against Getsemane, despite of what he had said, of how he has behaved. So this is just to indicate that I'm not going all out to target a person. He's not a person that I target. That's why when I want to talk to him, I'll call him that I want to talk to him, because I don't have issues with him. Despite of how he feels about me and the SAPS, but that's him. So Matibe did the same thing. The fact that there's investigations happening is because evidence now comes before me. Before that, I'm sure people didn't even know me.
Getsemane is an taxi owner in KZN, who's a friend of Kelvin, who's a friend of Senzo Mchunu. And all these people, they are there to attack Lieutenant General MKHWANAZI. Hence, what Kelvin Matibeli did at that time, go taking MKHWANAZI to media houses, speaking bad about him, and ended up in court. And this man, we know that he's close to Senzo Mchunu, so we don't know if they're fighting Senzo Mchunu's fights or what. But we're told about Getsemane and how Getsemane is one of the people that didn't like Lieutenant General MKHWANAZI. And that's another example to show you that Lieutenant General MKHWANAZI just does not have good blood. He doesn't like taxi owners. He just doesn't like, especially if they are having elements of criminality, or there are criminals or accused of being criminals. He just doesn't like it. If it was for him, he was going to regulate the taxi industry so properly, but corruption is so deeply entrenched that it won't be just easy to reform the whole taxi industry. It's very, very dangerous. So, what are some of the things that we heard from Lieutenant General Ndlovu MKHWANAZI regarding the taxi industry? Do you think there's more arrests that we're still going to see in the taxi industry? But what I know for sure is that it looks like Shadrack Sibiya also will be following soon. He might be arrested very soon. But we'll see as this case progresses and advances. Then I wanted to close off this video by quickly talking about Thobejane. The reason why I feel like it's important to talk about Thobejane in this particular episode is because we know that the firearm that was used to try to unalive Thobejane is the same firearm that was used to try unalive Joe Sibanyoni and DJ Vetties, who then went and had a full entire interview with Times Live exposing what was going on with those exhibits that went missing, and how DJ Somebody was entangled in all of this thing, which then led to these two guys, Kekana and Mabusele, being the ones that are hired to go and unalive him. And that instruction, it seems like it came from Katiso Molefe and all that situation. So now, we know with this firearm that was used to unalive or to try unalive Thobejane is the same one that was used for Joe Sibanyoni. We are hearing from courts with this case of Matlala, which happened, I think, last week. This is an update that happened last week. We are hearing that actually Thobejane has written or submitted a statement to IPID, informing IPID that he was forced to write a statement against Matlala.
The issue of the AVLs. To say that there's no trackers, I absolutely do not believe it. Police vehicles, as a matter of course, are fitted with trackers. And then the issue of IPID, the complainant's statement that was with IPID, where the witness, Thobejane, specifically said that she was assaulted and forced to make a false statement in this case. Now, if the press can get hold of that statement for some inexplicable reason, I can't see why my learned friend can't get hold of the statement to disclose it.
Which I am shocked. She allowed all of this to happen all the time. It looked like she was enjoying that Matlala is arrested, and believed that Matlala attempted to unalive her. But it seems like now she's changing the story. And now, during this time of discovery, the defense wants that particular statement to be used during trial, of which if they can successfully use it, we'll see the same case, what happened with Bellarmine Mugabe, who was able to strike a settlement with this guy who was a victim, and they were able to run or go back to their country and move on with their lives. And I think that's what's going on here. The witness that was supposed to come forward with his Thobejane is taking a back step. And I understand, because I remember recently I think she wrote something that offended Vusimuzi Matlala's wife, of which Vusimuzi Matlala's wife now goes to court to get an order for defamation. And that in and of itself is one of the things that probably might have influenced the Thobejane to then now start saying that she was forced by the police. Now the entire case has taken a different direction. On the other hand, the defense is complaining that the discovery does not have everything, including the AVL system tracker that shows the movement of the police and all of that.
Request for AVLs, that information does not exist, so the state is not in a position to provide something that does not exist. The state is not unwilling to provide. We have provided a lot, more than what is in the police docket. But it should also be reasonable. There must be some limit to what is requested. And I've consulted and I was informed by the team that the vehicles that we used don't have ABLs.
And I think the state looks like their case is crumbling down bits by bits because now of the witness not wanting to testify. I'm not saying that the case won't continue. The state case will continue because this is an unaliving case, the attempted unaliving. And the case will continue, but the question is how strong would it be, especially if now the witnesses are pulling away, are pulling out, are saying that they're being forced by police officers. Hence now there is that IP'd report that they need, that IP'd statement that they need in order to find out what Thobejane actually said regarding the role of the police in getting that statement against Vusimuzi Matlala. I don't know what you guys think about everything happening in our country. Yes, the arrests are happening. Yes, we are happy about the arrest. But what is more worrying is whether we're going to get justice at the end of the day. Is the evidence enough? Does the state have the strong, tight case? And are the witnesses willing to talk until the end? Or the witnesses will keep on changing their stories like what is happening right now? We heard from Serge Kabonge that Thobejane is some kind of a liar. She lies now and again.
Just fix something that you just said. I'm not only close friend to Kate, I'm close friend to both of them too.
Both of them, yeah.
Yeah, most person I was spending most of them was Tebo. Actually what happened, I was for my meetings, a friend of mine who was with Thobejane. I'm not gonna mentioning his name in this moment. I'm just gonna keep it. Call me and then send me a message that I have a proof was on the 2023 on the 17th of October. I think it was around past 5. Who invited me to join them on the signature in Morningside Shopping Center. They were with Tebo. Okay, I was having a little bit of delay on my way to reach where they were. And then when he called me again, and then Tebo grabbed the phone from her, tell me how far are you? And then I said to her that I'm not far from where you guys are. And then I arrived where they were in the signature. We sit, we all chill, you know?
Yeah.
I think they were ordering food and the drinks. And then when we seated there, I think I spent more than 1 hour. And then I decided to leave to go to my house because I'm just 5 minutes away from there.
You left them at the restaurant?
Okay. When I was leaving, the friend who invited me say, since you are leaving, you're paying the bill, I'm going to leave with you, you drop me at the hotel.
Okay.
I said, no problem. And then I dropped at the hotel, I went to my house.
So you left Tebo with?
I left Tebo
with another friend?
With a couple of a friend of her.
Okay.
And then I went to my house. When I was seated, about 1 hour, I received a call from one of Tebo's friends, said to me, no, please, you need to come because they shoot Tebo. And then I told them maybe I was dreaming when I heard the news because I was just with about an hour ago. And then how come she was being shot because I left her inside signature.
Yeah.
And then when I was asking for direction, when she was explaining to me, she said, when you come out to shopping center, you turn left, you pass the police station, you go down, there's a circle down. When you pass the circle, there's a garage, they see a car just take over them, start shooting from the back. And then I was very shocked.
Okay.
And then I call a friend who invited me to signature. I said, look, they shot the Tebo. Can I pick you up when there? Yeah. I think it was delay. And then I rushed to the scene of crime.
And we'll get to what happened when they also eventually got to the hospital. But did you share any information about where Thobejane was to either Ket Matlala, who's your close friend, or anybody for that matter?
Yeah, look. I don't see a reason of me sharing a location or communicate with anyone who was against Tebo at that moment, according to her. I never share any location with anybody because if I did share location, the police have a power, especially the team who are investigating the matter. You know, they have a power to find out. Even if I lie, I don't tell the truth, they have a power to find out. You understand? I never share any location. Teboro, she's just lying to everybody. He need attention to people. He's trying to involve them, to involve me on the things that I don't know, that I was not even part of that. I was not even planning to anything just because I stopped talking to her.
And I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if she's lying now, she's been influenced or what is going on, but we see a possibility of Vusimuzi Matlala actually escaping and being released in terms of the case of Thobejane. I don't know about DJ Vettys as well as Joe Sibanyoni. That's another story for another day. Let me hear your thoughts. Let me hear what you think, guys. Otherwise, I will see you on my next upload. Bye.